Monday, February 24th. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Faubourg.
Yeah.
Liebelt.
Present.
Ward.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business will be to approve this week's agenda. I would take a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next is the minutes from the last week's meeting, which took place on Tuesday, February 18th. We have two notes from our city attorney, Ron Wager. Ron?
I apologize. Actually, I wanted to make a quick note on the approval of the agenda. The agenda packet that was sent out had copies of the proposed ordinance amendments for the variance and special exception at 7I and 7J. We did not have the red line versions in the packet that was published online. I have provided each of the council members with a copy of red line versions of those two ordinances. There's also one set over there I provided to the press as well, and I believe that it was updated on the agenda just before we came to tonight.
It hasn't been posted to the website, but it's available. It will be tomorrow.
Okay, and then of course for second reading, both the red line version and the clean versions will be on. But just wanted to make sure that we were all aware that we do have a red line version of items 7I and 7J in front of us.
So let's readdress that agenda rather than taking the approval of the agenda as printed. Let us take a second motion to approve that agenda with those two amendments.
Move to approve.
Okay, got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Norvstrup to amend that agenda as published to include the red line versions of those two ordinance items. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you for that, Ron. Appreciate it. Next, we've got the approval of our minutes, which, to our knowledge, has no changes. You're pointing at the wrong one there. So we've got minutes from our meeting from February 18th. I take a motion to approve those.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Ward. Anyone have anything on those minutes? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got a special speaker here as part of our open forum. It is Dr. Becky Guffin, who is our superintendent. Dr. Guffin, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate that you've brought us some information.
I did. Thank you very much for having me. I will tell you, it's very strange to be on this side of the podium rather than that side, which is happening across town as well. But we are celebrating Public Schools Week this week, and I just wanted to stop by and thank the City of Aberdeen for your tremendous partnership that you have with the Aberdeen Public School District. As you know, we have numerous things that we do share and we work together on. I just wanted to highlight a few of those. The first of which is Mayor Schoeneman. I really wanted to thank him. He is present at many of our events that we host and does a nice job welcoming individuals to our community. Just recently we hosted the state esports tournament. Mayor Schoeneman was there to welcome all the student athletes and the parents that were in attendance for that special event. He showed a little bias to the Golden Eagles, but we were okay with that. I also want to thank Planning and Zoning. They help us a lot with some boundary and some enrollment projections. That's, as you know, an ever-moving target for us. So appreciate the work that we are able to do with Planning and Zoning. Obviously, Rideline is a big partner for us. We know that they help with transporting many of our children to school, and we really appreciate their patience and flexibility. They do a tremendous job getting our kids to school very safely. Park and Rec, we do a lot of sharing with Park and Rec as far as programming, materials, those types of things. Just a really great opportunity to work with Parks and Rec, and we should have an opportunity to share a lot of things with them, which we appreciate. Also, our library and our fire department also provide a lot of programming for our students and just kind of help keep students informed. Public Works, I know that they do prioritize our school zones when it comes time for snow removal. We really appreciate that. I will give a shout out to Jeremy Thorstensen. He's usually one of my, Jake from State Farm calls about 4 o'clock in the morning, just to see how things are looking in the city and how things are going. I did call him on a Sunday afternoon, which I was informed I should never do again. It was during the Daytona 500, which, by the way, he was attending. I didn't know. And my husband said that was a violation of the 11th commandment, so I will never do that again. Also wanted to do a big thank you to our Aberdeen Police Department. As you know, we have school resource officers in our schools, and they also do a lot of programming with our students and really couldn't do it without their partnership as well. So just wanted to stop by this evening, do a big thank you, celebrating Public Schools Week for all of your service and for your partnership here in Aberdeen. We did leave you with some information about some of the great things that have happened in our school district over the last year, so we hope that you celebrate that, and we look forward to continuing working with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And it's a little bit outside of the norm of our timeline, but this has the makings of a potentially long meeting. So let's get a picture right now, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'm going to jump up front. If the rest of the council would kind of come up behind me, Chief Joel Weig is going to be my photographer, and we're going to make this happen. This one? Yep. We did a good job last time. We're getting better and better. How about? How you doing? How are you? Awesome. All right, get closer, get closer.
Want me out of the picture?
It's too easy. All right, thank you. Yeah. I thought he was going to ask 2 more steps left.
I thought it was there was a hint.
All right, and that got me out of reading one of those full proclamations, which tend to get kind of wordy. So we have got 2 other items from our consent calendar. The first one is to set a bid date for the East Melgard Road Millen overlay project, as well as receiving minutes from a few different boards from throughout the community. So I would take a motion to accept our consent calendar and approve those items.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Johnson, second, Councilman Reinbold. Anyone have anything on any of these items? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 0 items of old business, so we will move right along to our first item of new business. The first one is the possible approval of the first reading and passage of Resolution 250201, which exchanged surplus real property from Homes Are Possible Incorporated Happy, and authorizes the city manager to effectuate the change. Ron, would you walk us through what that land swap looks like in real life?
Thank you, Mayor. State law permits the city of Aberdeen and other public political subdivisions to exchange land with private owners as long as we follow this process. And SDCL 9-27-34.1 sets forth that process. And we begin with surplusing certain property, which the council did some while ago. And then we had, and through Happy, they had a fee appraisal done on the lot that they want to exchange with the city, and we've identified in the resolution what are 3 parcels, but there's 3 small lots. The total land surplus by the city is 0.92 acres. The total land that Happy is giving up, exchanging with the city, is almost 7 acres. There's a map as part of the packet showing the where the lots are located. This Happy lot is located directly north of the 3 little lots of the city. What the resolution does is after having provided notice of the intention to do this, and this is the public hearing time for anybody to appear in support or opposition to the proposed exchange. But the resolution says that with the appraisals coming in, and I should also note that the appraisals on the 3 small city lots were at $124,000 total, and that the 1 lot from Happy was $126,000. So we're actually coming out ahead on this. More land and a little greater value, and so the city staff has reviewed this. This has gone through both the community development and our city engineer's office, and staff recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Second. Got a motion from Councilman Liebelt, and second from Councilman Ward. Darren back there, anything to add? Sounds good. I know you've been part of the process for some time, so I just didn't want to miss anything that you might have to contribute. Does anyone from the council have anything else? Okay, go ahead, Robin.
You might wonder why we have these 2 lots in an isolated area like that, how the city ends up in possession of something like this. We've had these lots, I believe, since 1997, when we did a temporary levy, and we built the levy across these lots and ended up buying them. They were undeveloped, and so we ended up buying them for a reasonable price, but we've been sitting on them since 1997, so it's time to get them into use, and it'll be a nice addition to that area. So
Sounds good. Go ahead, Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious here, Robin, if you can explain, is the area between these 2 lots hindered from development due to the topography or other issues?
the area in between the,
I think
North,
he means
just
this.
north and south, between the Happy lot on the map and then the city lot.
there is, that has been platted for a long time, and I think at some point it will be developed, but the current developer has decided they're not going to move forward with anything additional to that area. Right now, it's just being used for storage of construction materials, and I think that's going to be taken care of here shortly. So it probably will be at some point, but it's the infrastructure is basically there to extend into it, so it could be done at a later time.
It looks like some of this might be tilled cropland.
Some was, and some is just piles of dirt and rubble.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Any further questions? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then on this resolution?
Councilmember Ronayne,
I will abstain.
Faubourg. Councilmember Faubourg.
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward. Johnson.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Please note the abstention. Next, we've got a possible approval of Resolution 250203R, which establishes a promotional fund financial administrative policies and procedures. And here to tell us about that is Finance Director Jordan McQuillan. Jordan, I know you've been working on this for some time. Give us the highlights.
Thank you, Mayor. The Promotion Fund is a standalone special revenue fund within our chart of accounts that is used to hold funds derived from bed, board, and booze. It's sometimes referred to as Triple B, 3B. We call it the Promotion Fund. The purpose of this resolution is to establish and formalize policies related to the administration of the Promotion Fund. If approved, this resolution will define the method and process for administering the Promotion Fund, including establishing a process to set annual budgets for the Promotion Fund, establishing a process to determine the annual allocation of promotion funds, establishing a target reserve balance, establishing a process and criteria for financial review, and establishing a policy for the distribution of funds outside of the normal annual budget process. Here's an error in my council report. The resolution will not change revenues or expenditures within the promotion fund. My memo said that it would change revenues and expenses. It will not. Activity will be the same. But this resolution will better define the process that the city uses to budget for and allocate funds. A reserve policy will help us maintain cash flow within the fund during periods of economic growth and decline. Every recipient wants their promotion funds on January 1st, but the reality is that we receive the funds throughout the year. Roughly 6 to 8% of any of the portion comes in any month. So it takes time to build up the funds. That the reserve will allow us a little more flexibility in that, and that's the purpose of it. So with that said, there are, I think, 10 sections within the resolution. It's pretty comprehensive. I've reached out to quite a few people for input on this, as is staff recommends approval of Resolution 250203R.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm going to start things off with a question, I guess, in terms of the allocation guidelines. I know that this year, 2025's budget probably roughly fell within that 90-10 revenue exchange between city expenses through the Parks and Rec and the rest of the entities that receive the funds. That is kind of where you're creating this baseline from, or how did this 90-10 come to be?
So earlier drafts of this had a much higher allocation for city share. Based on feedback that I received, it was a little too high. So I scaled it to the current level of the 2025 allocation, right around there. That 10% was the current level that we're at roughly. And I would point out that it's a recommended allocation. Of course, the council determines the actual allocation at the end, but as you make your allocations, this would simply show what 10% of the amount would be attributable to city functions like Parks and Rec.
Thank you, Jordan. Another recommendation that I had made early on in this process dealt with the audit and financial review requirements. I had spoken with an accountant about an inquiry that I had received from the Downtown Association. Those guys in particular were inhibited by that audit requirement. So I appreciate you upping that from $100,000 per year to $250,000 because that will alleviate that issue. In terms of financial review required, what you're saying is they would still have to go to a financial accounting firm and have that review performed to the cost of about $6,000 to $10,000.
That's correct. So our policy has been an audit was required for any recipient that received over $50,000, and that was up until about 2022 or 2023. Within the last few years, it's been $100,000. So we've increased it from 50 to 100, and this policy would put it to 250, and it would just it would require the financial review, which is a lower threshold than an audit for those recipients receiving from $100,000 to $250,000 annually.
So the recommendation that had been made to me by an accountant, that when I kind of brought this idea to them, they suggested what they called a board review, or they might have had different language, but essentially they recommended potentially a subcommittee on that entity's board could personally review and sign off every transaction. When we're talking about these $100,000 ones, so the Downtown Association in particular, it's just not going through that many transactions. It should be something that a financially minded individual on their board could personally attest to and save them $7,000 or better.
This policy incorporates the requirement for an audit. That's staff recommendation, and I would stick with that recommendation. I think strong financial controls provide peace of mind. There's been headlines from across the state in terms of improper actions from a few, and unfortunately those get the headlines. I don't think those problems are occurring here, but I would hate to see those headlines hit somewhere in our community.
Right. Yeah, and I like the idea of having more people keeping their eyes on the financial balance sheets than just one, and that's why I thought perhaps that could eliminate that expense, and maybe the $250,000 is too high of a number then if there was something, but I just thought I would throw that out there to the group and see if anyone felt that some sort of a board review process might, at no cost to the entity, might be sufficient to I guess, guarantee that the money wasn't being ill spent.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
So Jordan, on what you're recommending, we have them done. We've talked to those who would perform that, and those are readily available as people who will perform that.
If I'm understanding the question,
So I don't know how to word it correctly, I guess. So the audit that we were requiring when talking to like the CVB or the Downtown Association or the Chamber, finding entities that would perform those audits was getting to be really difficult, and the price was obviously continuing to go up. So you're changing not only the threshold, but we're also changing the type of requirement, correct?
so this would modify the required audit to a lower threshold for recipients who receive 100 to 250. They would currently be a full audit, but this would lower it to a financial review.
And we know that those are easier to find people to perform than a traditional audit, correct?
It would be less staff hours. It would be potentially a more desirable task, but I wouldn't be able to speak about the availability of audit firms to perform the service.
Okay, that was my only other concern in regards to this. And Mayor Shoneman, your idea I don't think is a terrible one. I agree that we definitely want to make sure that people aren't abusing funds, but we haven't had issues, and I don't foresee as long as we're making sure and we're going to those meetings and checking those things, that we should be requiring something that's really difficult for them to attain in order to get funding. We've seen organizations request right at that threshold just so that they don't have that requirement. And so, yeah, that was my only thought is making sure that whatever we require is something that they're actually going to be able to complete.
Are there other providers aside from Eide Bailly that perform financial reviews that would be sufficient for the city's concern?
I think any certified audit firm would be able to perform that service. I couldn't tell you who would be able to do that because I have not really reached out to audit firms to see if they provide the service, but it should
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
I just know, and we, from talking with those main organizations, those large ones that I've, served as liaisons to, they've definitely struggled finding people who are wanting and willing to do that. And the cost, like I said, continues to go up. So I just want to make sure that when we're putting those requirements in place that we're not doing something that they're not going to be able to get. Because I do think, on the last council member Novstrop might be able to add to that. But at the CVB, I almost feel as though Casey had said that they had kind of been told that they weren't going to be able to potentially get those certain specific audits soon.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when I've been on the CVB, which has been before I was on the city council and since I've been on the city council as their liaison, and other conversations, not just with the CVB, it's been harder and harder to get Eide Bailly to do it. And there might be a day that comes that Eide Bailly tells us no, or them no, and then we have to figure out who does it. And it doesn't sound like anybody in Aberdeen is able to do that. So then we're sending our money out of Aberdeen to Sioux Falls or Minneapolis or something like that. And financial accountability is definitely important, but I've heard in some of the conversations that I've been a part of a certificate of compliance, which I don't know if that's similar to what you said earlier, or if there's another procedure to guarantee that financial transparency that we want, but also not potentially hire an outside company and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on something.
Yeah, Jordan, so you'd mentioned audit firms. I'm not sure who falls under that classification, but is there some sort of a bank rectification that any CPA or any tax accounting type of a firm would be able to perform, that would open up, it would secure the financial accountability of the entity, but also allow for a little bit more market competition to make the service itself a little bit more affordable? That was the major concern that was driving the conversation, was the fact that these were getting to be like $15,000, and when you're talking about $100,000 in the first place. It's just too much of that money to be used for.
Sure. So the conversation from the outside orgs has kind of emphasized that this is a preferred route to the audit. So this is the way I built a policy that incorporated their interest in having the lower threshold for a financial review. That certification of compliance, that is the direction I built the policy. So as to independent audit firms who can perform that task, when the city will RFP for audit services, we will throw a wide net and we will likely solicit proposals from audit firms from across the state. So it's possible that an audit firm could be outside of the Aberdeen boundary, but you know, these are tax dollars that we have a responsibility to be accountable for. So I baked that into the policy that I've proposed. Financial controls, you know, are very important for what we do.
Mr. Mayor.
Tiffany, what have you got?
Sorry, I feel like I keep going on this. But I will say I used to work for a large nonprofit that had several different like aspects that had to be audited every other year. And even they were struggling, you know, to find a company who would do that. And I think it's just something that a lot of these firms are kind of getting out of. So I definitely would say that, you know, we might even struggle finding somebody in South Dakota that does these types of things eventually. So it's not, I think that we can, you know, put this into effect now. It's just something that we definitely want to make sure we're looking at for the future on how we're going to require these organizations to reasonably show us what they're doing. You know, I do think we have some pretty good checks and balances in places with all of us, you know, assigned to different organizations and checking those different aspects and financials. But, you know, just in the future, it might be something we have to readjust again.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just a question for a finance officer. So this doesn't affect any organization that's requesting funds under $100,000, correct?
That's correct. There would be no audit required for those.
Another question, Mr. Mayor. For the finance officer, do we have how many, also just to make sure we're on the same page, so we're 2.5 times more. If you have to get $250,000 in order to require an audit now, how many organizations this last year requested $250,000? Is this something that's common? And then just a comment while you're looking that up. I do like that we're doing a financial review between 100 and the 249.99. I think that's very wise, but just kind of want to get a little more information on what are we talking about?
Sure. So I'll list the names of those recipients who received over 100,000. The Aberdeen, I actually have the ordinance here, so I'll just, the resolution. So,
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, just 250,000.
Okay.
Because this is who, if we adopt this,
right,
it doesn't affect, the 100 to 290, 249.
You're right. So the only recipient over the threshold of 250 would be the Aberdeen CVB. And I would point out that the CVB is subject to an audit through a separate section of our ordinance, which is section 5153, that says the Business Improvement District is subject to a biennial audit by a CPA accountant, and an audit shall be placed on file with the city finance officer. So this isn't the same as the bid district. This is a different flavor.
Thank you.
I don't know why I printed such a big doggone sheet of paper. I need it. You don't have to use
Glasses needed.
specs for that. Jordan, how many dollars are in the current balance from previous year's holdovers when we were a little bit more conservative than the dollars that were coming in from our promotional fund?
The current reserve balance within the promotion fund is $400,000 to $500,000, depending on cash flows from requests that have come through the course of the year.
Had that been a higher number at some point?
It may have dabbled higher, but I've paid out certain requests ahead of time because of the availability of cash.
And so, having not to exceed the 200,000, we're obviously there at this point. This reserve balance disbursement would essentially go into effect now.
So right. Upon passage, what I would do is come back to the council with a recommendation to spend down the balance to the desired level. What's proposed is that 10 to 15 or 200,000. So I'd have a recommendation to spend down to that 200,000. That would likely look at, or what that would mean is paying out agencies ahead of time probably, or alternatively, you could provide a new application to outside agencies in 2025 for new funding.
And so, Alexa, I have a question for you since you're out there and you had emailed about this topic, that financial review. How many dollars was that from Eide Bailey? And to your knowledge, is there any other provider in this trade market area that would be able to offer that service?
Thank you. Thanks for having this discussion. Thank you for having this discussion tonight. So last year in 2024, we spent $6,500 and some change with Eide Bailey for just our review process. For us, that's a lot of money. So I really appreciate that we're having this conversation. We would much rather see that going towards programming or community improvements. And I know other organizations feel the same. For your other question regarding availability, I have also had the same conversations with Eide Bailey that these are very small fries for them to be dealing with in regards to their other clients and projects they're working on. And I have also heard that, you know, it's most likely we would have to outsource outside of Aberdeen for reviews and audits, but I have not personally checked.
Thank you. I appreciate your input on that. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of my hazy aspect of this whole thing. Is there some sort of a financial mechanism that would hold their feet to the fire, keep everybody honest, ensure that there wasn't misappropriation of funds, but also not limit them to one provider? And so maybe if there's some other financial requirement aside from the financial review process that would open it up to any CPA to offer these this oversight, or maybe even financially minded members of the board that were willing to personally attest to each transaction, because I don't think we're talking about a ridiculous amount of transactions for most of these accounts probably in the grand scheme of things. But does anyone else in the council have a feeling one way or the other? Does everyone feel that the financial review requirement is sufficient or suitable? Go ahead.
You know, for myself, I'm satisfied with this portion of the resolution. I do want to know, I mean, I know that people steal from these funds, and whoever said we haven't seen it, yep, that's right. But we've also required audits. You know, this is city money. There's only one entity that is going to be required to actually be audited, and they're already under other requirements to be audited. By requiring a lesser standard, I'm okay with that. You know, we're talking up to $250,000. I think, Jordan, I think you've done a good job with this. I do really appreciate us. I was really annoyed, as you know, when I found out there was $500,000 being reserved, because I'd asked that question in the past, and I was never given a straight answer. So I do appreciate you taking care of that.
And it's been a short time frame that account has been there, because you'll recall a few years ago we were short. You know what I'm saying? So that whole 500,000.
Honestly, is that true? I don't know that we were or not.
Yeah, in 2021 or 2020 we were.
2020 was a weird year.
We spent more than we brought in, but I don't know that we were negative in terms of reserves, Mayor.
Yeah, we had a negative balance because we pulled it from the general fund.
I know, I heard that.
Is that true? And then
2020 was the anomaly. Otherwise, we spend exactly what we have. The number has been zero up until then, but since then we've had reserves.
Okay.
So.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilwoman Fulbert.
I appreciate all the work that Jordan's put into this and also all the comments everybody's made. And I think, you know, from my point of view, although I'm empathetic with all of the groups and not wanting to burden them with something that's not there, we're working on hypotheticals about whether anyone's available to do these financial reviews, if it's going to be a burden on them or not. And I want to trust Jordan's work, and he's moved the needle a good bit here, and I'm comfortable with doing that. And then revisiting next year, as Councilman Langer said, if it becomes problematic for people.
Good idea.
Okay. Councilman Johnson.
And I feel similar that it's been crafted using some best practice ideas, using some wisdom. I think we may see some applications for $99,999, and that's fine, just to barely skirt that. threshold, but I'm comfortable with the way it's written.
All right. Casey, thanks for joining us tonight. Please do.
I guess I was on. Yeah, I just want to appreciate
Casey with
Jordan putting this
Convention
together.
and Visitors Bureau,
Yes,
for anyone
sorry,
watching on television.
Casey with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, sorry. I just want to thank Jordan for putting this together as well. And just I wanted to point out that the CVB is a little different than most other entities. Where we submit for promotional funds, we are allocated promotional funds on behalf of the city and the city council. But we actually spend our money differently. We spend our money first, and then we code it and tag it, and then we submit for city reimbursement. So we don't receive a big allocation amount on top or right up front at the first of the year. All of ours are allocated monthly. And my speaking with Ide Bailey, and I think I was, for the most part, kind of the champion for allocating for these other groups, even though it wouldn't affect us or help us in the long run, is, Ide Bailey's comments back to myself were, we are a small fish in a big pond. And my thought is, if we don't have Ide Bailey, who do we have for a resource? And their answer was, well, we may have to have you look at somewhere like Minneapolis or Watertown in order to handle your financial audits and reviews. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, if the city's working with Ide Bailey, I want you guys to lump us in there as well, because I would rather work with them directly because they know us personally. We have a long-standing tradition with them and provide our financials, open books, readily available as well. But the threshold, I understand the meaning of the threshold and why the threshold's there. We are the organization that does receive a greater share of the promotional fund. But with that being said, looking at the promotional fund and how it's allocated and used, we, on our end, like I said, we have 2 city liaisons. We provide our expenditures on a monthly basis on how we spent, and then we are reimbursed on the back end. So if anybody does have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. On our end, we have the 2 accounts, the Hotel Alliance and the Aberdeen Convention and Visitors Bureau. So ours is, for the most part, pretty readily in and out when it comes to Ide Bailey and they do their audit. One thing that they did mention to us, in order for Ide Bailey to even perform a review, they have to bring us all the way up to about 95% of a full audit just to get a starting point for a review. So when you're looking at the expenditures of an audit versus a review, we're probably saving $2,000, $1,500 for a full audit versus a review. If that's the case, we might as well just perform the full audit every year.
And Casey, what do you spend on an audit?
We're probably pushing just shy of 20.
20,000.
20 total.
Alexa, you had said it was 6,500 is what yours was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate that. Does anyone else in the council have anything about the topics we covered within this resolution or any of the territory that hasn't been spoken to yet? David?
I just want to, I know Jordan has worked on this a lot, and other people have said they appreciate his work on this, and I do too. And I think it's good, even though we focus on really one part of this, but it formalizes a lot of other things that we've talked about, and we don't have to go, well, did we do it this way last time or whatever? We kind of just have to go look at this, and if it doesn't work, we can always change it, because that's what we're here for, is to realize if we made a mistake, we can come back and do it again. We don't meet weekly anymore, but we meet often enough that if it doesn't work, we can adjust it. So,
thank you, David. Any further questions? Jordan, I don't want to seem like I'm coming across as hard. I was just trying to be an advocate for the fine folks in this community doing a good job promoting us. So, I agree. I appreciate you having taken the effort to and the initiative to have made this a little bit more of a formalized process. There was a lot of gray area, I think, in the way that it was ultimately being distributed. So with that, have we got a motion on this one? Why don't we take a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Any final thoughts before we take a vote?
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
Before we vote, just curious on, I love everything that Jordan's done here, but just with thinking of some of the organizations and the cost of it, I'm kind of thinking about considering, I don't know exactly the process. I know we have a motion and a second, but I would consider making an amendment to the financial review and striking 100,000 and moving and replacing it with 125.
Okay, so we've got a motion from Councilman Ward to make an amendment to this resolution, which would take the bottom of the financial review requirement from 100,000 to 125,000, which would free up a little bit more space for a couple of the entities that are in that territory. And then, so Councilman Ward, would there be any sort of a formalized process for those folks, or they would just fall beneath the range?
Nope, everything else then would stay the same. It would, the audit requirements, still at 250, would stay the same. It would just be moving up, so nothing under 124,999 would have a requirement.
Okay, does anyone else on the council have any questions or input as it relates to that motion for amendment to the resolution?
Just wonder if Jordan would have any input on that idea.
I'm comfortable with that. I like it.
Okay, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that amendment?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries, and if there's no further discussion, we can take a roll call vote on the resolution itself. Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. All right, next we've got a possible approval of abatement of property taxes for real property within city limits. Jordan, you present that one for us. Looks as though, what kind of abatements are we talking about?
Thank you, Mayor. So these abatements were submitted by the Brown County Auditor's Office. They are all clerical in nature, related to abatements for either missed waivers or whatnot. The Director of Equalization recommends approval. They've been approved by the Brown County Commission, and City Finance Office recommends approval, and they are presented within the slate here.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Johnson. So when you say a waiver, can you just give us the high line definition of what that consists of, would you, Jordan?
Sure. So there may be, I'm just pulling up an error of an applied discretionary, for example, which would be a discretionary formula error, I believe. Another here is a veteran's freeze on property taxes that was missed. So the descriptions are within the applications that were submitted to the Brown County Commission. For instance, another one's a senior freeze. So just various, not waivers, but assessment determinations that were missed in entering the data into the county system.
Thank you for that clarification. I know I'd received a few phone calls, so hopefully we've tidied up a few things for those people that were affected. It sounds like this is maybe the right step to clear those issues up for those people. So we've got a possible approval of this abatement. Would someone care to make a motion?
Move to approve.
We've
I thought
already
we
done
did.
that, maybe.
Oh, did we?
I'm sorry.
Got ahead of ourselves. No, you don't need to apologize. That was all me. Got to do these things in order, and it wouldn't be a question. Any discussion or questions from the council? Okay, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that then, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, possible approval of the request to award a bid of the 2025 Seal Coat Aggregates Option A for $142,750. P-Rock is priced at $28.55 per ton to LG Everest Inc. and bid option C for $135,000. Crushed granite for $45 per ton to Lean Transportation. Total amount between the two bids is $277,750 as lowest responsible bidders, and authorize the city manager and finance officer to sign these documents. Stu, what can you tell us about these bids? How are we shaping up?
Thank you, Mayor. So these bids are close. You know, it's to last year's bids. There's nothing here that's really out of the ordinary. Some are a little bit higher and some are lower. So well within where we felt that they would be for the year. And these are this is material we bid every year for our chip sealing operation. So
Move to approve. Second.
Motion Reinbold, second Johnson. Any questions for Stu? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Nordstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, approval of a request to award a bid for the 2025 road oil for $507,655.50, which equates to $923.01 to the MC3000 and $27,696, which equates to $553.92 per ton, delivered to Jebro Incorporated as the lowest responsible bidder, as well as to authorize the various people to sign that paperwork. Stu, tell me about those bids.
Sure. So here again, kind of a similar situation. This is slightly higher than last year's bid, but well within where we projected that it would be.
And were those was Jebro the only bidder?
Yes, they were the only bidder.
Has that been the case with them in the past?
There's been years in the past where we did not receive a bid at all. Robin, maybe you can help me a little bit with this, but the last couple of years, I think Jebro has submitted a bid to us, at least as long as I've been involved with this. So the bids in the past, we did have one supplier out of Minnesota that I guess decided that we were that small fish in a big pond, and they weren't bidding. They were accepting our orders if we would do things on their terms, and that was kind of the wrestling match we had. They were going to do it under their terms, not under ours, and Jebro stepped up and decided they'd bid, and we've been satisfied with their work.
Thank you for that clarification. Would someone care to make a motion to award these bids?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Ward. Any questions? Jordan?
Councilmember Nordstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, possible approval to request to award a bid of our asphaltic repair mix and Class D asphaltic concrete 3.8 inch bituminous surfacing repair mix for $18,500 to Jensen Rock and Sand, and our asphaltic concrete also to Jensen and to Lean. Both suppliers submitted an equal bid of $495,000. Stu, walk us through that process, please.
Sure. So the surfacing repair mix is what we commonly refer to as cold mix. That's the material that we use in the wintertime to patch potholes. We have a machine that we heat it up in and take it out and put it in the potholes for a temporary repair. The other mix is the actual asphalt that we use for patching and for paving. And I believe we are a little bit under what we had for a bid last year for that. I think $5 a ton less. And we are basically have an identical bid from Leans and from Jensen's for this. So we draw from each one of them depending on what their workload is and what they are manufacturing. So it works out really well for us to be able to use both of them to produce the mix. We probably should just make sure that everybody understands we're not doubling our order because we've got the same. Right. We're going to be splitting the order between the two and try to make it as equal as we can so that we're giving them both a good shot at it.
Thank you for that explanation and clarification. Would someone care to make a motion on that awarding of the bid?
I'll move.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Reinbold. Any questions? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got the possible approval to request 2025 Bobcat compact loader from Bobcat of Aberdeen in the amount of $99,588.04. Stu, what are you going to do with this new loader?
So this skid steer is going to be primarily used. We purchased a 30-inch milling machine that we can mount on the bucket of this piece of equipment. It has a higher flow hydraulic pump on it, and we can use that milling machine to clean up the edges next to the curb on streets that are having some, the asphalt tends to get a little bit. That's where we have the most problems, and the milling machine will also has an auger on it to remove the material at the same time, and then it's a bigger machine, 100 horsepower machine, and we can use it for snow removal and, basically just any other use that the street department has for a loader. And it's came in just under budget. I think our budget number was $100,000 for this, so we're right there.
They probably had an audit requirement to hit that number. All right. Take a motion to purchase that Bobcat.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Ward, second Reinbold. Any questions for City Engineer Stu? Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next is the first reading and possible approval ordinance, which petitions to rezone some property at 616 Rock Street South, which is adjacent to Legends Liquor, from R3 to C2 property. Ken, would you walk us through that property?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the last vacant parcel between Legends Liquor and the city holding pond on South Rock Street. The intention is to expand their parking facilities. That would require consolidating the properties with a new plat, and this rezone will allow that to happen. The Aberdeen Planning Commission recommended approval on February 18th with a stipulation that it's platted into one lot and with Legends Liquor property, and that a plan is approved to permit obtained prior to development of the parking lot. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, a second from Councilman Ward. Does anyone have any questions about this parcel? Right, pretty straightforward business. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, first reading, possible approval of another ordinance which amends the zoning regulations of the Aberdeen City Code regarding variances and zoning ordinance, and this is one of those red line copies that was provided. Ron, I know that Ken was going to present it, but do you have anything first?
No, I'll just defer to Ken. This has gone, I know, both through the zoning board and the planning commission, so I think Ken can make that recommendation.
Okay, Ken?
This ordinance will amend Chapter 60 of the Aberdeen City Code regarding variances from the requirements of the zoning ordinance. Section 257, or Section 60-257 lists the powers and duties of the Board of Zoning Adjustment, along with an enumeration of conditions that must be satisfied in order to grant a variance from the zoning ordinance. This amendment simplifies that language in the section and removes the lists of conditions necessary for authorizing a variance from Section 60-257-3. This list of criteria has been reworked and more clearly stated in a new section of Code 60-198. This new section defines the authority and purpose of the Board of Zoning Adjustment as it relates to variances. It also emphasizes that the burden of proof for consideration of a variance lies with the applicant. Section 60-198F also authorizes the board to impose additional requirements, conditions, and safeguards when a variance is authorized. The Board of Zoning Adjustment and the Planning Commission have reviewed this proposed ordinance and recommend approval.
Thank you, Ken. Someone on the council care to carry this one with a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Motion Renee, second. Norvstrup, so in practice, the streamlining is essentially just attempting to streamline the process.
Yeah, and a little cleanup makes it a little simpler for everybody to understand and kind of lays out a process for the zoning board to hear an item and what they need to look at as far as when a variance should be granted. It just kind of cleans everything up a little.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone have any questions from the council? All right, nice work with it. Appreciate you streamlining those processes for us here, Ken. I know that it's been a big focus for you. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that first reading of this ordinance?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, first reading of ordinance 250204, which also amends our zoning regulations for the city code disregarding the authority of the zoning board of adjustments to determine special exceptions. Ken?
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance will amend Chapter 60 of the Aberdeen City Code regarding special exceptions from the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Section 60-193 will lay out the criteria that must be met for the Board of Zoning Adjustment to authorize a special exception. The intent of this amendment is to simplify the language in this section of city code to make it easier for the general public to understand and for staff to write and defend recommendations for the requested special exception. Section 60-193B details the authority of the board to impose additional requirements, conditions, and safeguards to protect adjacent property owners from effects related to a requested use. The Board of Adjustment, as well as the Planning Commission, have reviewed this ordinance and recommend approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Johnson. Any questions about the particulars? Once again, thank you for your hard work on this one. Ken, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on this first reading, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, first reading of ordinance 250205, which petitions to rezone certain property from R2 and R4, current standing, to C1. This property is located at 2816 Milwaukee Avenue Northeast, and for those who want a directional, it is directly west of Mike Miller Elementary School. Ken, tell us about this rezone.
Thank you. This residentially zoned property has remained undeveloped for years due to some unique constraints. Therefore, the applicant is requesting to rezone this property to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District in order to permit a business that is conducive to its location near a residential district and public school. The C1 designation allows for limited commercial uses upon approval by the Planning Commission. At its February 18th, 2025 meeting, the Aberdeen Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition to rezone. The Commission also approved the plan submitted to construct the Financial Services Office with associated parking, signage, and other improvements. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion, Councilman Reinbold, second, Councilman Johnson. Anyone have any questions about this new commercial property? Ward?
Mr. Mayor, yes, question for the Community Development Director. Do we know, once we rezone this, is that we don't know what may go in, just being right next to a school, with fear, of course.
It's going to be a financial services office.
It is?
Yep.
Okay, very
And
good.
that's the beauty of this zoning designation, is it allows the Planning Commission to approve any use that should ever go in that property. So if someday they move to a new location and somebody wants to take over that property, anything they do has to meet the approval of the Planning Commission.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, first reading, possible approval of an ordinance petitioning to rezone from I2 industrial to M municipal property at 2 North Main Street and 115 and 119 Railroad Avenue. Those are the gravel parking lots north of our courthouse owned by the county. Ken?
Brown County is requesting this petition to rezone in order to bring their lots into conformity with the adjacent properties that they currently own. Collectively, these lots contain a gravel parking lot that serves the courthouse complex. At its February 18th meeting, the Aberdeen Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition to rezone. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion, Councilwoman Liebelt, second, Councilman Ward. And as far as we know, it'll continue to be parking. Are they going to improve the parking surface or anything, or is it?
They haven't proposed any changes yet. The county planning director brought this and the next couple of items to us all in just a effort to clean up their zoning.
Thank you for that clarification. We've got our motion, we've got our second. There's no further discussion. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on this one, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. As Ken alluded to, the next in the series will be their property just north of Wells Fargo Bank. This is a possible first reading and approval of an ordinance 250207, which rezones from C3 and R4 to M municipal property at 124 First Street South, which is where the 911 call center is located. Ken?
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, this is the building that currently houses office space for the Emergency Management, County IT, Command Center, and 911 Communications. They are rezoning this in order to bring those uses into compliance with the zoning designation. At its February 18th meeting, the Aberdeen Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition to rezone.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion Reinbold, second Norvstrup. Any questions? Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got a possible approval to request a purchase vehicle from Pearson Ford. This is one that we had tabled the other day. Glad to see it's going locally in the amount of $40,975. Ken, is this yours?
This one is ours.
Can you tell us about that vehicle?
We had budgeted for a new vehicle to replace one of our less reliable members of the fleet. And we've been able to track down a model that meets all of our purposes and matches the state bid price. Staff recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ward and a second from Councilwoman Liebelt. Any questions before we take a vote? Jordan?
Mayor.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman
sorry.
Johnson.
I was just curious, is this going to add to the fleet by one vehicle, or will another one be retired?
We have one that will be retired.
All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, possible approval of a request to purchase a vehicle, also from Pearson Ford, $49,396. This one to Rich Krokel of our Transportation Department. Rich, what can you
Yes.
tell us about this vehicle?
This is the one that we had last week at City Council. Lamb out of Oneida had submitted the closest bid. In the past, I had attempted to buy locally, but they were unable to match. So anyhow, we submitted all those specs to Pearson Ford, and they matched Lamb's dollar for dollar.
Thank you. I gave Ken the credit, but how about both of you get a pat in the back here today?
Well, I'm special. I gotta have a red pickup.
Fair enough.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion from Councilman Johnson, second from Councilman Ward. Any questions for Mr. Krokol? Jordan?
Councilmember Norpstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next is our bills and payroll. Bills, of course, this week. Payroll is for the pay period of February 9th through the 22nd. Can I get a motion to pay our bills?
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion Liebelt, second Reinbold. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Abstain.
Councilmember Fauberg,
I abstain from Dakota Bank.
Councilmember Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Abstain.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norpstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Please note the abstentions. Next, we've got our city manager's report with Mr. Robin Bobzine. Robin, what have we got going this week?
Couple items. One, we had a very well-attended Aberdeen Days with in Pierre. We've got a few partners that attended with us, and I think that is the largest crew that I've ever seen there. I don't know from your perspective if it was, but it was very well attended and had some good dialogue as well. So I appreciate everybody making that trip over. You had a number of your staff there as well. Secondly, Amber and I are going to go to the GOED conference in Pierre, and I don't know if Rich will be there. I'm assuming so. We'll be there. He'll be there to keep me in check, I'm sure. So that'll be a day and a half. And then we're still tracking a few bills at the legislature. There are some of them that I think Jordan has sent some updates to you, and we'll continue to send updates as we near the end of the session. We had a really good session today, discussion with a lot of our community partners regarding water resources and what we need to do for future planning for things, and I'm glad we had that chance to visit. It was a really good session. And last but not least, we did do a 20-year certificate of appreciation to Dave Volek of the fire department. Dave has been with us a long time. We congratulate him and enjoyed spending some time with the fire department last week. So that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you very much, Robin, and thank you to Dave for the committed service to the community for 20 years. We do have a special executive session to talk a little bit about some litigation that will be forthcoming, so we'll take a little bit of time and clear out the room for the folks that will not be involved in that discussion. Appreciate you guys coming here tonight.